And on the flip side, if it's a good call, then stonks to the moon, baby. In the words of the great Cardi B herself, and I quote, "Give me shmoney. Give me shmoney." Hello, good morning, how you doing today? My name is John Liang and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to discuss some of the most common money mistakes we see folks making in their 20s. Now, as I run down the list of 7, I can certainly call out the ones that I've made a mistake on, but I'm hoping in this video I also can provide you some tips and tricks on how you can avoid them and really effectively manage your money in your 20s. One of the things I will call out now though is it is an absolute shame that we don't proactively talk about money in school. By effectively managing money in your investments, you can set yourself up for financial success, but with schools not proactively teaching sound financial and money practice, and almost having a taboo around discussing finance and money topics, it really doesn't set people up on that path to success. So if you're sitting in front of the computer now and you're trying to figure out what are some money mistakes to avoid, I give you a thumbs up and I commend you for taking the proactive step. In addition, I ask you give me a thumbs up in return so we can go ahead and push this video out to individuals who are looking for the same type of education. The list of 7 I have here is in no particular order. And the first one is not understanding credit or building a credit profile. Your credit score and your credit report are one of the most important things, in my opinion, to have a solid foundation on in your 20s. Because by having a solid credit score, you set yourself up to potentially save hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest payments over the course of your lifetime. What do I mean by that? By having a higher credit score, you can potentially qualify for a lower interest rate on a home or an auto loan. Now, when it comes to credit and getting started, this is a great place to start is in your 20s. Don't delay getting a credit card or don't delay learning how credit works. And by building a strong credit profile, you can do some of the fun things like getting travel rewards or cashback points. Some of the more premium credit cards just require a higher credit score. So if you don't have a credit card now, I certainly encourage you to take a look. I'll leave a link to a review I did of a secured credit card. These are the lowest tier of credit cards, really meant for people who are fixing credit or building credit. It's a Discover It Secured. Take a look at that card. That's a really great starting place. The second money mistake we see, and this one can kind of sneak up on you, is lifestyle creep. So you've graduated, you've gotten your first job, you're doing really well, you might have gotten a promotion, you've gotten a raise, you're getting paid a little bit more, and now you might be spending a little bit more. Not actively, right? But just things that you might have otherwise not spent money on previously. You're going out and eating a little bit more. Instead of going out just Saturdays, maybe Fridays for drinks, Thursdays for drinks. Being on a first name basis with the Amazon, FedEx, or UPS folks. Running up a $300 tab in downtown New York City on a Sunday afternoon. Now, I'm not saying don't spend any money. Obviously spend what you need to spend, go out, have a good time, but just be cautious of that. Lifestyle creep is always going to be there. When you make a little bit more, you're just gonna naturally have a little bit of an inflated lifestyle, and that's not a bad thing. But be very cautious of it and be proactive to it. And if you can just tamper it when you're first starting in your career in your 20s, you really can accelerate and turbocharge your investment savings, your general savings, and lay the foundation for a solid financial platform as you continue on into your 30s and 40s. And this relates to the earlier point about having a solid investment or savings foundation is setting up automated investments or savings. And this is one that I really wish I did. Now, I was all about preaching it. I was all about preaching you have to put money in an index fund, you have to save a little bit for an emergency fund. I never really got around to doing it myself. And to really drive home the point, if you were to go ahead and take $300 a month and automatically take it from your checkings account and put it into a brokerage account such as Vanguard and invest it in a low-cost index fund, over the course of 30 years, that $300 a month investment could potentially turn into something to the tune of $600,000. I mean, that's quite literally free money, and that's just compounding interest doing its thing. And the reason I would implore you to have a savings plan is have an emergency fund, a rainy day fund. We have no idea what the stock market is going to do. We have no idea what the economy is going to. And God forbid that, you might be let go of your job or whatever the case may be, you want to have that emergency fund in place so you don't have to liquidate your investment portfolio or have to pull out of your retirement portfolio. And speaking of retirement portfolio, certainly opt into your company's 401k or Roth 401k. Whichever one you have, automate that because you do want to think about when you're 60 and retired, what does that nest egg look like? The other thing that's really nice about automating some of your investment and savings is the fact that it's pulling money automatically out of your checking account. So if you are like me and you tend to spend a little bit more, you kind of spend what you see in your checking account, by keeping that balance low, you're not spending as highly. And so it kind of helps to mitigate also the lifestyle creep we talked about earlier, but also you're gonna earn much better returns. In a low cost index fund, we see returns on average between 8 to 10%. A savings account likely is not as good as 8 to 10% returns, but it sure as heck is better than your checking account sitting at maybe 0.1%. The fourth point, avoid the temptation to go make a quick buck. Now, what do I mean by that? Basically, if someone is promising you returns to make money in something that seems too good to be true, it likely is. No such thing as a free lunch. I can speak from personal experience. Invest in things that you understand. Don't get caught up in the hype. My example, GoPro. I lost probably $1,000+ in it. It was 2015, I was still in school, and GoPro was IPOing or had just recently IPO'd. I got in around $40 or so, and I remember thinking, man, I love GoPro. GoPro's so great. All stocks do whenever the IPO is go up, I'm in. Boy, was I wrong. I ended up taking about $1,000+ haircut on that investment. Today, GoPro hovers around $10 or so. Never went back up to when I went in on it. That's more so to drive home the point. Understand your investments. Don't go in thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna put money in and it's only going to go up. Because you'll be surprised at how often when you put money in, it only goes down. Number 5, don't disregard an asset class you don't understand. What do I mean by that? Cryptocurrency. We've all seen it in the news, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. Crypto is up 300, 1,000, 2,000% year over year. But for me, back in 2017, I made about $300 or $400 off of Ethereum. I thought that was it. It was nice, cryptocurrency, don't really get it. And once it crashed, I thought, see, I knew everything. I mean, I made a couple $100, I'm a crypto genius. There's nothing more to it. And so this time around, when Bitcoin and Ethereum started making their monster gains, I thought, no way, it's a bubble, it's going to pop. But yet, here we are. Yes, they are down from all-time highs, but they're sitting at an order of magnitude higher than they were a year ago. And the lesson here is, don't disregard it. It's always good to have a little diversification in your portfolio. Now, full disclosure, I did get back into a position on Ethereum and Cardano, certainly not as low as I would have hoped, but at the same time, I just wasn't paying any attention last year, and that's my fault. Now, I am not saying you need to drop everything and go into crypto or whatever the next asset that comes up is, but what I am saying is, don't disregard an asset because you don't understand it. Try to understand it and see, is there a way for me to add a portion of it to my portfolio if it's in line with my investment strategy? Number 6, as we're talking about diversified portfolio holdings, real estate. Not getting into real estate sooner. For me, I listened to hours of Bigger Pockets podcast, which is a real estate specific podcast, and I was hooked. I mean, I got it. Real estate investing is the way. You build equity, there's cash flow, growing your net worth. I mean, everything just sounded so great. But what I never didn't pull the trigger. Now, eventually I did pull the trigger after I introduced real estate to my girlfriend, and she pretty much went through kind of the same cycle of listening to podcasts, though at the end of it, she basically said, we need to take action. And it was all thanks to her that now we are currently in this 2-family investment property where the upstairs is rented and we live in the downstairs. And I can say confidently, after about 12 months, this property has appreciated anywhere from $70,000 to $100,000. That's pure net worth gain. Not to mention, we basically cut our living expenses, and that significantly increases our ability to save and invest. I'm not saying real estate is for everybody, but the point I'm making is, if you have an investment thesis, don't be worried to test it out. At the end of the day, we're in our 20s. We have so much time ahead of us to make mistakes and to invest and to diversify that it's okay to test it out on 1 or 2 different strategies we have now. We can always recover for. And on the flip side, if it's a good call, then stonks to the moon, baby. And the 7th tip I have for you, in your 20s, don't be afraid to negotiate your salary. Now, I know, when you get your first job, it can seem like such a blessing. I mean, you just finished 4 years of college or your master's or whatever it may be, and a company's giving you an offer letter. It is so exciting, and you're thinking, wow, they're taking a chance on me. I've no experience, but they're giving me a chance. I don't know if I should really negotiate or push back. Here's the thing. They gave you the offer for a reason. They didn't give you the offer because you were the cheapest person on the market. That's silly. They gave you an offer because they want to bet on you and your future with the company. So in doing so, you should always go back and ask for money. That's my general guideline. Now, whether or not they're going to give you more, that's all their story, but you should always make the ask. At the end of the day, you don't get what you don't ask for. In addition, your raise is always going to be off of your initial base. So if your base was 45, then the 2 or 3% raise you get next year is off of the 45,000. So over the course of your working career, you're gonna make more just by starting at a higher base. I know it sounds commonsensical, but the point I'm really trying to drive is don't feel embarrassed to go and ask for more money, even if it's your first job or you feel that you're really junior. Because at the end of the day, all they can say is no, but you'll still have the job offer. A tangential point I'm gonna make to this is, a Forbes study recently came out that said employers who stayed with their company for longer than 2 years made 50% less on average in their entire working career. The point of that is, don't feel attached to your company. Yes, they took a chance on you. Yes, you wanna grow with the company, but the modern day is people jump from company to company. And after 2 or 3 years, that 2 to 3% raise is really not keeping up with the rest of the market. If you were to look elsewhere, you might get 10, 15, 20% higher pay. And I'll selfishly say this, at the end of the day, you need to look out for yourself. If you weren't doing your role, it would be next woman up or next man up to take your place. So when the money and the incentives aren't in line, I would say start taking a look elsewhere, what's else on the market. Because again, you're in your 20s, you have an opportunity to recover, you have opportunity to explore different career paths, or just really set yourself up with a high base, so wherever you move subsequently from there, you're always going to be making more. And if you're interested in discuss this topic more, I'll drop a link in the video above. I appreciate you all tuning in and discussing with me some of the most common money mistakes we see folks making in their 20s. I'd love to hear from you below. Did you take something away from this video? Are some of these mistakes things that you might have done? And do you have any questions on how to implement any of the suggested solutions I mentioned above? If so, drop a comment below, let me know. My name is John. I appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, peace.